Good morning, I should say this time. Yes, it's a bit too early for our liking. It's only 30 minutes before our lecture. Welcome to podcast at number 7, coming out one day late because we couldn't get any of the equipment yesterday. Both the radio studios were taken and the voice recording booths were also not working, so I've had to delay it and come in nice and bright and early on this cold Wednesday morning. Good morning, Kris. How are you?
Good morning. Yeah, not too bad. It's freezing outside, isn't it? It has been for the past week or so. Yep. In terms of football results, not so good. Not so good. What about you, Sam?
Yeah, let's not talk about the football, but we're going to have to anyway. Going straight in with the Tottenham game against Sheffield United. VAR saving Tottenham again, I have
Yep.
to say.
A very disappointing draw for Tottenham once again. We went ahead in the 58th minute thanks to Son's effort. Sheffield managed to equalise on 78 minutes. Again, the game full of controversy, as you said, especially regarding VAR. The Sheffield should have won that game. The first goal that they scored was not offside.
Yeah, I heard they were dominant pretty much in the first half.
Yeah,
as well.
they dominated us. I'm not sure what's going on because we can get results away in Europe. For example, 3 days before the game we played Red Star and we won 4-0 in a very difficult territory. We come back home, we've got the support of the home crowd, and yet we managed to drop points once again. In terms of the table, Sheffield United looking very strong in 5th place with 17 points. Tottenham dropping down to 14th with 14 points after 12 games and only 6 points above the relegation zone.
Yes, only 7 points above us.
Yes.
Yeah, we are bottom of the Premier League now, and it's been coming, to be honest. Heading into the international break. Watford, the only winners team in the league, come to Carrow Road on Friday night, and they break that duck and they turn us over very, very easily. Gerard Deulofeu scored after 76 seconds. I was a bit late to the game, so I literally got to my seat, turned my back, and they were 1-0 up. So. Certainly not the best trip home I've ever had. Andre Gray got a second for Watford in the second half, and even though they got a red card, they never really looked like conceding, to be honest, and it's quite embarrassing for us. But in a way, I kind of might be good because it is rock bottom now. It is the worst it can probably get, to be honest. Like, we just lost to the worst team in the league, or on paper, and now we're bottom of the league. But the only way surely is up now. Our next game, I'll talk about it towards the end, away to Everton. So we're going to look at that as a game that we can get some points from. But no point letting the football get us down too much. We've had a lot of fun this year, especially in the Championship, and the Premier League is a tough division, so you've got to just sort of go with it now. And if we get relegated, we get relegated, but we didn't spend much money, so looking at the team we've got, it would be a miracle if we stayed up. But no point getting too downhearted about it. Fantasy football then, a better week for me, 67 points. I brought in Nick Pope, the Burnley keeper. He got me 9 points, and a captain, Tammy Abraham, got me a goal, and had Vardy and Maddison from Leicester. You got to have Leicester players at the moment,
Yes,
haven't you?
Yes, you do. I have Maddison as well. Got me 9 points this week. 45 points overall this week, with average points being 48. So not too bad. One of the better weeks I've had in a while.
That's good. The Championship wins for West Brom, Preston and Leeds. And yes, West Brom leading the way at the moment at the top of the Championship. A couple of local derbies as well. Nottingham Forest beating Derby in the Midlands clash by 1-0. Lewis Grabban, former Norwich player, getting the winner there. And Bristol City beating Cardiff away in the seven-side derby, which ultimately led to the sacking of Neil Warnock. But Kris, I'm sure Neil Warnock will be back in work somewhere soon.
Yeah, definitely. Well, he's one of those managers who sort of stand out. I'm not sure if you've seen the videos of Neil Warnock sort of walking towards the camera, threatening the camera operator.
That's amazing.
Classic Neil Warnock. Yeah, he'd definitely be back in management. Well, as you said, Cardiff not looking pretty in 14th place with 21 points.
Question for you. You probably wouldn't know, as Tottenham have been in the Premier League, but how would you rather be promoted? Would you rather go up as champions, or would you rather win the playoffs?
Now playoffs are special, especially going to Wembley and winning at Wembley in front of it feels like a like it's sort of like a cup final. You get a trophy at the end of it, so it feels definitely special. Now, there's obviously less stress when you go up as champions because you go straight up. But I think personally, I would love to see my team win the playoffs because I'm sure it feels much more special.
Yes, it does. I can tell you that because we won it in 2014-15 season. Beat Ipswich in the semi-finals and then beat Middlesbrough at Wembley. And yeah, it's one of those days that, I went to Wembley, watched that game, and yeah, I'll never forget it for the rest of my life. Norwich might not get to Wembley again for quite some time. Next round of the Champions League, that took place last week. A few results from that. Liverpool 2-1 win for them against Genk. Chelsea, what a game that was, 4-4 with Ajax. Ajax got 2 red cards. They were 4-1 up. Chelsea got it back to 4-4. Thought they'd won it, but VAR intervened and it stayed at 4-4, much to the relief of Ajax, I think. Man City, interesting incident in that game. Claudio Bravo, the keeper, was sent off. Edison also not available. And Kyle Walker, he went in goal, and I did enjoy his reaction when he caught his first free kick, diving to the floor like a proper keeper. And yeah, 1-1 draw for Manchester City. But a win for you boys.
Yeah, a win for us in a week which has clearly been defined by comebacks. We've had a comeback in the Dortmund versus Inter game as well. Dortmund being 2-0 down at home, coming back to win the game 3-2. But yeah, as you said, a win for Tottenham, a comfortable 4-0 victory away in Belgrade, which seemed to be a very difficult territory beforehand, especially with Liverpool going there in a past couple of years and struggling to get a result. We looked comfortable throughout the whole game. Sonny scoring his first goal after the Andre Gomez injury and being extremely apologetic, not celebrating at all. But yeah, in the end, we're looking comfortable. A win against Olympiacos in the next round will guarantee us promotion to the round of 16.
Yes, sounds good. The Europa League, just quickly touch on that. Man United, 3-0 win for them against Partizan Belgrade. Wolves, another late goal for them, 1-0 win against Slovan Bratislava. And Arsenal, another draw. Vitoria won, Arsenal won, and another lead they let slip. So, yeah, not going too well for the Gunners at the moment. Unai Emery, a lot of Arsenal fans I've seen sort of calling for him to go.
Yeah.
So, probably as a Spurs fan, you're happy with the job he's doing there, but did the board need to react?
I think so, especially with the fact that he's clearly going against his fan base, especially with the Granit Xhaka decision, making him captain, even though most of the fans didn't want to see the Swiss international as their captain. And then, as we've all seen, the situation which took place 2 weeks ago, when Xhaka was coming off and he was being booed by his own fans, reacting, taking his shirt off, and going straight to the tunnel. On the pitch as well, it's not going great. I can't say anything because Tottenham are doing even worse than Arsenal. But we've got that trust in our manager. Even though we're not getting the results, we know that he can turn it around. I'm not sure whether that belief is among the Arsenal fan base.
And yes, all these extra games, so Champions League, Europa League, Cup games, how much difference do you think they're going to make sort of come the end of the season? Because, yeah, while sort of Arsenal, Tottenham, Man United aren't doing amazingly in the league, they are playing a lot of extra games, aren't they?
Yeah. Especially for Arsenal, it's going to be much more difficult because they play in Europa League, so you have to take travelling into account. They travel to a lot of places which are really far, and that travelling definitely affects them. And also, as you said, the amount of games, there's plenty of them. But as we said before, I think teams tend to prioritise European caps now, especially in Arsenal, knowing that maybe they will not be able to get Champions League places through the Premier League. They're going to prioritise Europa League because winning that competition will give them Champions League next season. For Tottenham, it's mostly, I think, financial. We are not going to prioritise domestic cups because there's less money in it. Therefore, we've got to prioritise the Champions League, which will provide a constant source of income. However, if we don't get the Champions League next year, well, that's where the problems will start.
Very good. I'll touch more a bit on football towards the end of the video. Moving on to a bit of cricket and England's 2020 series in New Zealand. That came to a close last week. The fourth T20 was pretty good. Darren Malan scored the fastest 100 by an Englishman in 2020 internationals from 48 balls, as England racked up 241 for 3 from their 20 overs. And the fifth T20, well, that was a classic, and that brought back memories from the summer just gone by. The match got reduced to 11 overs aside due to the weather, and both teams were tied on 1-4-6 at the end, meaning a super over. And this is the way that England won the Cricket World Cup in July against New Zealand. So deja vu on that respect. Owen Morgan and Johnny Bairstow, they scored 17 from that super over, and England restricted New Zealand to 8 for 1. So they took the 2020 series 3-2. Very entertaining. Not a lot between those teams. And we've had a warm-up match between England and just a New Zealand 11 played over the last couple of days. New batsmen Dom Sibley and Zach Crawley, they've shone for England, both scoring hundreds, and everybody else sort of getting starts in there. Burns 23, Root 41, Butler 38, Pope 31, Stokes 30. Bowling-wise, not so good for England. New Zealand got today 285 for 5 from 75 overs. So a couple of wickets in there for Jofra Archer, one for Sam Curran, and one for Stuart Broad. And yeah, not a lot else for anybody else. But yeah, the Test series, that begins next week. It's going to be tough. I've written a piece on how hard it is to win overseas, so if you want to read that, that'll be in the description of this video. And yes, yeah, one of the questions really a lot of people ask is, why do teams perform so well in limited overs cricket but cannot produce the goods in the red ball game? And yeah, the answer to that, I'd pretty much say, is that they're just two completely different formats, and they're really sort of binary oppositions. The way you approach each one in the physical mindset, the mental mindset, is just completely different, and a lot of players find it hard to sort of be able to replicate and switch between their two sort of personas in each game, which is why, especially in recent times, England have had such a strong limited overs team, but Test match has been quite inconsistent. But 2 tests against New Zealand to come, and hopefully we can get a win overseas, which would be, we did beat Sri Lanka last year, but otherwise our record overseas is not great for the last 5 years or so. The Grand Slam of darts, that's been taking place all week and includes players from both the PDC and BDO formats, so it sort of gives a chance for all players across the darting spectrum to come and play. The BDO players won't be sort of used to the format of the PDC in terms of you've got the Sky cameras, got huge crowds for it too, so sometimes it's quite daunting for them, and that's been shown this week as a lot of the BDO players have struggled, but there have been some successes. Gabriel Clemens and Glenn Durrant from the BDO both getting through to the knockout stages of the Grand Slam of darts. Michael Van Gerwen, he won his group as usual, as did Peter Wright, Dave Chisnell and Michael Smith. The runners-up of each group so far we've had Darryl Gurney, Glenn Durrant, Rob Cross and Ryan Harrington, the qualifier, son of Rod Harrington. That competition continues throughout the rest of the week, so yeah, it's on in the evening each night if you want to watch it. The international break is now upon us, and 2 games for England. Montenegro on Thursday at 2:45 kickoff, and Kosovo away on Sunday at 5 o'clock kickoff. Now, Kris, an incident in the last couple of days between Raheem Sterling and Joe Gomez, which has resulted in Sterling being withdrawn from the squad. So, has Southgate made the right decision here?
I think so. However, obviously we know that it started during the game of Manchester City versus Liverpool, and then it carried on into the England squad. But I think you have to punish both players in some way, because I'm sure, Sterling was the one who reacted, and he acknowledged that himself, that, the emotions took the better of him. But I'm sure there was something that Joe Gomez did in order to trigger those behaviours. And then again, we're losing absolute quality ahead of a very important game, which if we win it, we're going to qualify for the Euros. What's your opinion on that, Sam?
I kind of see why he's done it, because I think you almost need to have that mentality that we don't want any kind of divisions at all in the changing rooms, because they can start small, but they can get really big, and the impact of that on the team is not good. So I just hope this year has been resolved quite simply, and we can all sort of get back on the same wavelength very soon. But our actual friendlies, qualifiers, aren't they? Yeah. Montenegro at home should be a win, you'd thought, and same with Kosovo away.
Yeah.
Other sport, we've got the Grand Slam of darts. That continues, as I said, this week. The ATP World Tour Finals tennis, going to be talking a little bit about that next week. And New Zealand and England. That tour continues with warm-up matches for the Test series, and we've just had the first warm-up match. One more, and then the two tests get underway. Get underway after that. So I'm just finishing on our university life then. We had a special day, or not really a special day, but on Monday we all had to come up with a potential business idea for journalism. So, Kris, what's your amazing invention?
Well, the idea that's going to make me a millionaire one day is called JournoMole. It's going to be a platform for freelance journalists to find stories and for ordinary people to pitch their stories to journalists. What about you, Sam? What's going to make you rich?
I decided to come up with an interview archive, so you can search on it and you can get all the famous interviews, or the interviews that we've done with famous people. So it saves you asking the same questions over and over again. But I was pretty much the only one there who turned up from my group, so I didn't really have much of a choice. Thank you very much for tuning in. As usual, apologies, this one's coming out a day late. Should hopefully fix that next week. And other than that, hope you enjoy the rest of your week, and we will be with you next Tuesday.
Goodbye.